Good afternoon and welcome to Lunch with League. I'm Diane McNutt and I'm the president of League of Women Voters of San Jose, Santa Clara. We also serve the cities of Milpitas, Morgan Hill, and Gilroy. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan political organization. Our purpose is to encourage informed and active participation in government and to influence public policy through education and advocacy. We do not support or oppose any political party or candidate. Each month at Lunch with League, we host a speaker who can share information and ideas that will help broaden our understanding of issues in our community and our nation. This month, we are pleased to welcome Deb Kramer, Executive Director and founder of Keep Coyote Creek Beautiful, who's going to discuss the big opportunities for Coyote Creek, which is the largest watershed in the South Bay. Deb is a graduate of UC Berkeley with a degree in environmental science. For most of her career, she's been a project manager in environmentally related fields such as water, energy, and waste. Now she is working hard with community groups, public agencies, and students to restore Coyote Creek through cleanups, plantings, recreational and cultural activities, and educational partnerships. After Deb's presentation, League member Barbara Marshman will pose questions sent in advance, as well as those that you send now through chat as they occur to you. So please join me in giving a warm virtual welcome to Deb Kramer. Deb, where are you? There you are.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for coming to Lunch with the League. I'm looking forward to sharing with you about our organization and how you might be able to get involved. I'm going to share my screen now, and hopefully you will be able to see the presentation. Can I get a thumbs up from someone if everything is working well?
It's fine.
Thank you. So as was mentioned, my name is Deb Kramer. I'm the founder and executive director of Keep Coyote Creek Beautiful. I started the organization 8 years ago after many stints in various environmental organizations. I grew up in the San Francisco Bay Area, so I'm a native, also Cal grad, way to go state schools, and I'm a nature lover. So I'm really happy to be able to share with you some of the wonderful nature related things that I do. Today, I'm just going to talk a little bit about the creek itself, about our organization, some of our core activities, and ways that you can get involved, as well as upcoming events. So Coyote Creek is a 64-mile-long river. It starts in Henrico Park. It winds through Coyote Valley, parallel to 101, and runs through downtown San Jose and Milpitas and into San Francisco Bay. Has a huge diversity of wildlife and also ecosystems. Here's a map with an overview. You can see that it starts at Henrico Park and makes a backwards J down through the valley and out to the bay. Keep this map in mind because we'll refer to it later. There are multiple ecosystems within the watershed. We have the Coyote Valley area, there's a riparian urban zone, and tidal area are kind of the three main zones. So within Coyote Valley and Henrico Park, we have the headwaters, which is where the creek starts. It's got three main forks that come together and end up going into Coyote and Anderson Lakes, where the water collects and then eventually flows into the valley. One of the things that we're really grateful to have is that the valley is open and relatively unpaved, and it acts as a sponge to replenish the watershed. We then have the riparian and urban zone, and this kind of starts roughly around Hellier Park. There are trees along the creek and cottonwoods, for example. It has an urban area, which has a poor water quality right now, and typically the area is less biodiverse. And then finally, as you get out towards the bay, there's the tidal area. The water is brackish, and a lot of salt-tolerant wildlife live there. Sea level rise is definitely one of the issues that we help other organizations to raise awareness of and help to mitigate through restoration. A little bit about land use. In the 1800s, there's a lot of agriculture, which unfortunately led to the drop in the aquifers. So there's been subsidence. In the 50s, there was a lot of housing and businesses that were built along Coyote Creek. And now there are concrete channels and a lot of flood control issues that have arisen, as some of you may remember. Briefly, the 2017 flood was where Anderson Reservoir overfilled the spillway, and it causes significant flooding downstream in Coyote Creek. And again, this is where I want to emphasize that thank goodness we had open space in which the waters could expand. An example is Coyote Valley. There's also a number of parks like Kelly Park and Watson Park and Hellier Park, and they all have floodplains available for this water to help mitigate the downstream impacts of a large flow of water. The day after the flood, this is some examples of the pictures that I took. Here are the Watson Park soccer fields, and you can see where the fence line is, that they are approximately 2 feet underwater. And this is, again, a day after the flood. I went over to Roosevelt Park, and you can see that there are some logs on the right side, and the creek is approximately 20 feet below in this area. I also stopped over by the Linder Park area where the tennis courts are, and they also were about 2 feet underwater. There were lots of ducks that were floating around and enjoying it. Coyote Meadows is another area that we have a great interest in, and it's just south of Linder Park, and the radio towers were completely immersed, and they are approximately 5 feet. The fence line is about 5 feet around them. So what's happening right now with regards to flood control? So Valley Water has a Coyote Creek flood protection project. It's just started. Technically, the hard part of it is starting. The first couple of years after the flood had been planning. So the flood protection measures that were ultimately planned include flood walls. It's critical to timing to meet these conditions because there's the Anderson Dam seismic retrofit project that is going on right now. And the spillway, which is the first piece of it, will be open and available in 2 years. And so the project, the first phase of this project for the flood protection project needs to be completed by 2024. So there's 9 miles between Montague Expressway and Tully Road that are going to be under construction. Some of you may have seen in the news that this week, the city of San Jose received some money from Valley Water to be able to remove homeless people from Quarry Court, for example, Mayberry area. All of these are around Coyote Creek, kind of on the northern side of San Jose. So if you'd like to also hear about another project related to flooding and land use, the Coyote Valley Conservation Area Master Plan is something that we keep an eye on, as well as try to encourage people to participate in. It's led through the Open Space Authority of Santa Clara Valley. And the purpose of it is to get input from people and do some planning to enhance the natural lands, which are not only open space, but also working lands. So I put a QR code up here in case you are interested in participating. You can join the mailing list. There's currently a survey out so that they can collect information on what your interests are, and then also attend events at the open space reserves. I became a docent a year and a half ago just so that I could learn more about not only the Conservation Area Master Plan, but also about the parks and what open space does as a whole in the valley. So now I want to shift a little bit to my organization, Keep Coyote Creek Beautiful. I founded it in 2015, and we really want to do a few things. We want to care and advocate for a healthy creek. We educate people about the value of a healthy creek, and we offer recreational activities to connect with the watershed. Just so you know, the majority of our funding comes from grants, about 95% of it. And my board would really like to change that. So our vision is for a healthy Coyote Creek with clean water, abundant wildlife, and people enjoying nature. And we do that by mobilizing community resources and participation to achieve a healthy creek. And the way I like to think about it is that everything is connected. If you take action, you're providing a voice for the creek, or coming out to one of our trash cleanups, you're taking action around the creek. And I'm kind of the action girl. So that's one of the things that I really enjoy. We also do a lot of recreational activities in partnership with others. So an example is the Silicon Valley Bicycle Coalition, where we co-hosted a bike outing with a down in the valley area. And we also do a lot of education around the watershed, whether it's K-5 education in the classroom or partnering with San Jose State University. We want to just make sure that people learn about what's so special about this place. So here are a few photos to reflect on. One of the things that we started doing recently are murals. which is in the bottom with the coyote, but we also get people out in nature via biking or our bio blitzes. So on the education side, we have our school curriculum, we host educational events. Some of you may have come out to tabling events that we are at where we share our love of the creek. And as I mentioned, we started doing some murals. We have walks and talks. We just started using our K-12 watershed-based curriculum to go out to the creek with schools and then be able to do a creek cleanup and have the students do an evaluation of what it is that they saw. We had virtual tours, which you can find on our YouTube channel. And then we host BioBlitz events, which are one of the more fun things that I enjoy doing. It's basically a 2-hour event, which is the Blitz part at a local park. And we have naturalists who guide citizen scientists to look for and identify nature. And we've hosted almost 60 events over the course of 7 years and had 4,000 attendees come out to either document or share their love of nature with other people. And I thought I was a really observant person, but boy, I'll tell you, going out with these naturalists, you see things that you didn't see before. So I invite you to join us at them. We host them every month. An example of why these BioBlitzes are important is because we're doing citizen science. We're getting people to collect data about nature in a specific area. And as we continue to go to these locations periodically, whether it's quarterly to Hellier County Park or annually at Almond and Quicksilver, it gives us a little snapshot as to how things might change or seasonal changes. Another example is that for 7 years, one of my colleagues has been doing a newt study at the Alma Road at Lexington Reservoir. And the reason is because the newts don't have a safe way to cross Alma Road. And the only way to make change is by documenting what's happening there. And the intent is that hopefully the county will agree to providing some passages for the newts. As I mentioned, murals is another thing that we fit within our education category. We've been at 2 schools and Cottonwood Lake at Hellier County Park, and we do a community input process so that we have people and kids say what it is that they'd like to have in their mural after we provide a little information about what is a watershed and what types of things live in the creek. And then we have community paint days. And we actually have one coming up on June 4th, and it'll be at the Williams Street Bridge near Olinder Park. And that'll be a fun event from 9 till 5. And we're hoping to have 100 people come out. And we work with a professional muralist on those projects. On the recreation side, as I mentioned, we do bike rides. But the purpose is really to look at getting people outdoors to connect with nature and each other in an active way. And by getting outside, we're improving our health. There's been a lot of studies just from with the pandemic of how people being outdoors and active has really helped their moods. And that's something that we want to continue sharing with folks. And, you know, we kind of slip in a little education every now and then as well. With our kayak outings, it was really neat when I went out there to see the creek at a very different perspective because you're at the level of the creek, at the water's level. And then we just had in April a backpacking outing up at Henrico Park, and it was so fun. We had different weather each day, and we also got to see a lot of nature that we may not have seen if we were just in another area. So we saw quite a spread of wildflowers. There were lots of newts and some cute little tree frogs, and of course, turkeys everywhere. One of the things that we did in collaboration, and in the beginning, I said that we work collaboratively with a lot of other groups, community organizations. We also work with the county, and the county was a partner for our Coyote Creek Habitat Day that we held on April 1st. And we partnered with the Silicon Valley Bicycle Coalition to host a bike ride. The county provided owl pellet discovery, which was really fun, where kids broke the pellets open and tried to dissect what the different animals were that were in the pellet. There was a birding outing that was led by the Santa Clara Valley Audubon Society. The visitor center had, it was open and the rangers there shared what was inside. We also had a BioBlitz that was led by BioBlitz Club. So as you can hear, one of the things that our organization is really really good at is bringing different organizations together to share our love for nature. On the action side, we remove and reduce pollution through creek cleanups. That's one of our bread and butter big events that we do. And in fact, this Saturday is National River Cleanup Day. And I hope that you'll consider coming to a site. We have a site out by Tully Road near Coyote Creek and have lots of room. But there are, I believe, 40 sites within the region that you can choose from. We also advocate for healthy water, land use, and community benefits from nature. So we've joined organizations like the Protect Coyote Valley Coalition, and also support a lot of the work that the Open Space Authority does by advocating for their activities. And we just want to get people outside while they're doing good. And sneak in again a little education. So in this picture, you can see that there's a cute little sharp-skinned snake that people were able to see as we were walking through the creek doing a cleanup. We also invite people to be a voice for the creek. So we've hosted 184 cleanups year to date with over 9,800 volunteers since 2015. And we've removed 705,000 pounds of trash from the trail and the creek. So by being a voice for the creek, that also means that we're taking action because it doesn't have a voice to say, hey, I need to be cleaned up. One of my pet peeves is the type of trash that we find in the creek. And there's been a fair amount of illegal dumping, especially during the pandemic when people were renovating their homes. But there's also a lot of trash that comes from people who are providing food and supplies to homeless people. And one of my pet peeves is styrofoam. It breaks down into little pieces, and as you try to pick it up, it just continues to break down. It is really nasty. Please, please make an effort to avoid styrofoam. Even though it is banned as a takeout container, you can still buy them from Costco. There are other options. Plastic bags likewise have been banned, but there are other options. And a pet peeve of mine is cigarettes. They're so little and they're really hard to pick up with our litter sticks. On the advocacy side, we were one of the co-founders of the Coyote Meadows Coalition, which I'll talk a little bit more about, and also co-founder of the Protect Coyote Valley, which was a campaign to help purchase and protect more land. And we're also a member of Together Bay Area, which is a regional organization. So here's just some of the beauty and fun people that we have on our team. And in the upper left-hand corner, these are actually a type of fungus. So we invite you to get involved. There are lots of things that you can do right in your own home, like plant native plants, participate in environmental advocacy with some of the organizations that I mentioned. You can volunteer with an outdoor organization, take a walk in a park, actually. Just doing that will help you personally. Getting into the Coyote Meadows Coalition, this is a grassroots organization of about 20 of us. We want to connect Coyote Meadows with the rest of Kelly Park and Olinder Park. So it's about 50 acres that's north of Kelly Park. Through the Open Space Authority, several years ago, we received money to create a concept plan, and we're now ready to start implementing. But there's a hitch. It's within the purview of the Office of Economic Development that still thinks that they can make money in an area that flooded about 20 feet. So the water was running 20 feet above the creek level. Here's an example of the layout that we're looking at of the land. So up top here is Highway 280 and Olinder Park. And down at the bottom here is Story Road. And this is Kelly Park, where Happy Hollow is. And in between is the 50 acres of land that is Coyote Meadows. And it's kind of broken into zones of which there are many different things that can happen. And we would love to have you help us implement the concept plan to create kind of a grand park, which will be Kelly Park, which has got 6 parks within it, adding Coyote Meadows to the north, and then the existing Olinder and William Street Park. And that would just be an amazing stretch of waterway and parkland that we can use. I put a QR code here if you'd like to join the mailing list. But some of the examples of things we're looking at creating are having some art, maybe nature viewing, doing a bio blitz, passive recreation. There's also the Coyote Creek bike trail that runs through there and the planned Five Wounds Trail. And then we really are ready to start doing some restoration in the area to beautify it and activate the space. We also have open positions. So if anyone is interested, you can learn more from our website for positions we have. We're looking for an environmental educator. I just received some money from the Whale Tail program, and I'm really excited about getting out there with a kind of a new way of educating youth. We're looking for an event assistant to come out on the weekends and help us with our events. If you're a naturalist, join our BioBlitz. We love having people come out, and if you're really knowledgeable or if you're not, we just love to have people come out anyway. And we're also looking for some new board members. We're a small but mighty group, and we want to grow. We're starting a strategic plan right now, so it's a great time to come on board with us. As I mentioned, we have upcoming events. We have creek and trail cleanups, which are about 2 per month. And as I mentioned, we have one this coming Saturday starting at 9 a.m. We also have on Sunday a birding in Coyote Valley event. And that one is in partnership with the Santa Clara Valley Audubon Society. We have 2 BioBlitz a month. We just were at Almond and Quicksilver in April, and in a week, we will be at Embedded Way, which is across from Shady Oaks Park, kind of below Hellier Park. In partnership with our city forest, we're doing tree planting because we believe that by greening the canopy and the watershed, we will better be able to serve the community as a whole. And as I also mentioned, the Community Paint Day, which will be really fun. That'll be on June 4th. At the Olander area where we're painting the William Street Bridge. So thank you so much for listening to what I had to share with you. And I hope that you found a few things that might be of interest to participate in. My contact information is here. You can follow us on social media as well. It's Coyote Creek SJ. And thank you so much.
Thank you, Deb. I was really surprised and impressed with the variety and the quantity of activities that your organization has been involved with. It's just, San Jose native, but I learned a whole lot today that I didn't already know. So thank you very much. We're going to move now into the question portion of the program. And I'll introduce Barbara Marshman. There she is, a league member. And so she has the questions that some of you submitted in advance, and she's monitoring chat. And I see some chat questions have come in. But if you have more that you would like to add to the list, please do so now. So Barbara, you're on.
Thank you. Is my sound okay?
It is.
Okay, good. Thank you, Deb. That was really interesting, and you're doing a lot more than I was aware of, which is very cool. I'm very interested in Coyote Meadows, and I thought maybe we could just ask a little bit more about that. Is there a timeline for a decision with the city's Economic Affairs Department to on whether this could remain open space?
So that's a really good question from the perspective of, we've been in talks with Nancy Klein, who is in charge of that department for a number of years. And she thinks that there's a balance that can happen, and that some of this land, for example, where the landfill is, this orange area is the former landfill, that could have some economic viability by putting a light industrial sort of building up there, in which case everything below the landfill would then be available for restoration and open space activities. The land is zoned as open space and park land, except for this little bit up top here, which has an amazing view, by the way. Anybody can go up there, and you have this 360 view of Mount Diablo downtown, Mount Umunum down to the valley and the bay. It's really astounding. But it's the kind of place where we feel more is better in terms of having the land, but if the city can generate some income, and then we can keep it active, because this is also, some people may know it as the jungle. This is the former homeless encampment. So if we can keep it active and have plantings going on and the like, then maybe homeless people won't resettle in this area. So no timeline, but I'm optimistic that with the Five Wounds Trail, which is this yellow line coming online in the next 5 or 7 years, that maybe the powers that be in the city will realize that it really just needs to become a park.
So you're still hopeful that even the landfill area can become a park?
Oh yeah, why
Okay,
not?
good. Yeah, I mean, the view just does seem marvelous, and yeah, well, don't get me started. Oh, wait, I guess I already did start. Roma Dawson asks, do you get any funding from the Office of Cultural Affairs? How are your murals funded?
No, we have not received any money from the Office of Cultural Affairs. We get funding either through a grant from the Water District. The most recent one was an Abierto grant. We received money from the county as well, through a supervisor's direct grant. So I'm kind of good at looking for little opportunities. It seems to me that for the arts commission grants, that it's more competition with regards to the structure in which you apply for and hire an artist, whereas I select an artist and then I want to implement the project the way that I want to implement it, which is a community-based input. So it's slightly different than I think how the Office of Cultural Affairs likes their grant applications to be held.
But you feel as though you're getting, as you never have as much money as you need, but for the murals, you feel as though you have reliable sources for some funding?
I wouldn't say reliable, but I do think that I'm creative in how we fund a project. And I don't believe in the starving artist method. I think that we all should be paid the value of which our work is. So the art that we do tends to be more expensive than what people think a mural should cost. But that's because I feel like, hey, if we're getting this amazing piece of art, community art, the person who's doing the work should really be paid what their input is on that project. I still think it's not enough, but you know.
And Judy Lovell asks, is your organization a 501c3? Do you accept tax deductible donations?
Yes, we are a nonprofit organization and we are happy to accept donations.
Good. One of our advanced questions was about Valley Water and how well they are partners with you, or actually, I guess, in charge in many ways of the condition of the creek. And I'd like to ask the question, how do you think they're doing? More specifically, I was struck by the fact that there are going to be concrete walls as part of the flood control. And I know with the Guadalupe River Park, almost 30 years ago now, there was a fight to not have concrete walls in many places. Folks wanted them, but to do more natural flood control. Are you okay with the current plan with concrete walls?
So there's a minimum of concrete walls in the plans here. A lot of it is more of a interim structure that would pop up. So on the website for Valley Water's Coyote Creek Flood Protection Project, they talk about how there'll be these metal containers that come up when the water gets high to prevent the water from flowing into a housing area. There also are the equivalent of mounds that are created. So they're more of a land kind of form. But there are some areas where there's just no other way to do it but to put up a concrete channel so the water doesn't sluice around and over the walls. And
Great.
then regarding the question of how we work with them, we've been a recipient of their 5K mini grants. We've received a number of them. They are very difficult. They seem to take more than $5,000 worth of Valley Water staff time to get them, but I'm grateful to have their support. I also attend a lot of their meetings, especially those that are related to the creek cleanup. There's a creek cleanup committee that the board has, and then board meetings. I've also attended meetings related to the police, having the police patrol the Coyote Creek Trail and now the Guadalupe River Park Trail. So I feel like the Valley Water employees and staff are very receptive and open to communicating with me and our organization. I think the board members, since it's political, they, I think, have a little more difficult of a time hearing from my honest perspective of their work. How's that?
That's excellent. Thank you. Good job. You showed a picture of what I assume is the Coyote Creek trestle.
Yes.
We
That's
had a Willow Glen trestle here that we lost, as I'm sure you know, and
Yes.
I'm just curious if this one is likely to survive.
And that's an unknown. So the analysis, so this creek, this trestle survived the flood totally intact, had no problems at all. And so clearly its strength is there. If you were to remove it, then there's all the chemicals, the asbestos and other chemicals that would need to be carefully removed. So there's that downside to removing a structure like this.
Mhm.
And it is very sturdy, and it does provide a way to get from the Five Wounds Trail over to Story Road. So it's to me that right now there isn't a no, we need to take this, we definitely need to take this down, but there's also not a, we're going to keep it. So it's kind of on, there's no direction right now with regards to keeping it or having it go, which is actually good. We just want it to be a safe passage. And right now it is not a safe passage. And whenever the city has put up fencing, it's been torn down right away.
Who tears it down?
I couldn't tell you that since I'm not there, but what I understand is that a lot of homeless people tear it down because it's an easy way to cross between the two areas instead of going down Story Road to Remillard and then across the Coyote Creek Trail to get to the same point.
So the fencing
human
blocks
nature.
the use of the trestle. I'm looking at the picture here with the fence on the side of it. That's not what you're talking about. You're talking
No, the fence on the side is just so people don't fall over.
about, right.
There used to be a railing on this, which is the north side, and that's been taken down. I'm not sure why. And then right now you just have to leapfrog your way across each of the rungs, and you're looking straight down at the water from there. The fencing would have been at the end here, and then what is the end over here? And every time I've gone, it's either been fully open or gone, just completely gone.
So there's nothing on anyone's agenda to either make this safe or to take it down, fortunately.
Not at this time.
Okay. All right. Getting back to Coyote Meadows for a minute, the Office of Economic Development, you said is not particularly concerned about the 20-foot flooding that has taken place there. Is that something, is that a danger that will change when the flood control is complete, or do you just not overcome all 20 feet of the flooding?
Well, I still think that area will flood as much as, I mean, if we had another flood event like we did, that area will flood significantly. And part of it is that the flood control measures are to prevent areas from flooding that are, in this case, upstream of Coyote Meadows. And so that would mean there's more water that comes into Coyote Meadows. So if we keep it open, then it prevents downstream flooding, and the measures that they're putting in right now through Valley Water will prevent outflow into the neighborhoods. So by having mounds, for example, at William Street Park, those mounds will be a prevention measure from the water coming up and over onto some of the neighboring streets. And by having, for example, there was an opportunity to put in solar panels, and those solar panels, every single one of them would have been underwater if they had been installed in this area. And as it is, the radio towers, they were out of operation for several months until all of the equipment dried out and whatever was damaged could be replaced.
Okay. Coming back to your styrofoam, which I agree, it's horrible stuff. I always hate you order something from Amazon and don't think that you're also ordering, 10 square feet of styrofoam that it's going to come in. Do you ever talk to the groups that are distributing food in styrofoam containers? I assume, is it church groups or Agape or Malta?
There's a variety. Yeah, there's a variety of groups, Barbara, who provide food. So there are some church groups. Some of them are just community activists. There's also people who are coming from like the Second Harvest Food Bank, not directly, but they've gone to Second Harvest Food Bank and food to then distribute to homeless folks. And the containers that they're putting them in vary. I've been seeing a lot of styrofoam. Now some people are moving into this black plastic with a clear lid, which is plastic again. The city has asked people when you get takeout to put it in cardboard. So a cardboard container, paper container. And when I have talked with folks about that, they talk about how it's more expensive. But I've also invited them to come to a creek cleanup so that they could kind of see what happens with the stuff that they bring to people who they're trying to care for. And please understand that I have empathy for people who are homeless, and that, yes, people need food, but I think there's a better way to do this, and that's to have people go to a center where they can be given food, not to take with them, but to eat on site. And that is much less waste. And especially if people are having reusable containers that they can then take home and put in their commercial washer at their church, for example, or community center. And I also think that if people are going to a location, then they can have services that they can talk to somebody from the county's backpack medicine if they have an issue, or if they have a caseworker, that caseworker shows up to that location and they can find out, oh, you just came up on the lot, you won the lottery, now are eligible for housing. So I've heard these things happen from different organizations that are part of the housing organizations, outreach organizations, where some person who is homeless shows up at one of these locations and they happen to be there, and there's this match that happens, and people end up having a better outcome than just what I call enabling, where people come with food, with sleeping bags, with tents and clothing, and just leave it at a park for people to take. And that just keeps people staying where they are, rather than helping people to get to a new place in life if they want it.
That's really interesting. You're obviously very deeply involved in trying to change that system. And I work with the Rotary Club, and we're looking for things to do to help with the homeless situation without getting in the middle of the politics. And it seems to me that one of these things around how food is delivered and, maybe finding better ways to do that is something that an organization might take on. Does that seem logical to you?
Oh, I think that is phenomenal. So the model that I would say is to have not only the food, but then have like an exchange for sleeping bags or tents, so that if somebody needs a new one, that it's not just left where it is in the creek or in a park, and then you get a new one and you set up somewhere else, but there's an exchange system there so that everybody feels like you're contributing to keeping your own environment clean.
Mhm.
And then having, like I mentioned, the county has backpack medicine, and they can go to a site and provide medical care, basic medical care to people. So if they have open wounds or, are in pain, they can be assessed to see what kind of additional care they need.
Mhm.
And then if you have a caseworker from, say, Home First, they may be able to say that, we've got a spot for you at a shelter, or your name came up. And this did happen with PATH. I was talking with someone from PATH, which is another outreach organization. And he said that a number had come up for him to get permanent supportive housing. So again, if these different groups can come together at a site, and then maybe it's at a site where the cash for trash is. So there are, I think, 20 sites that the city has for cash for trash. And if all of this happens simultaneously, that maybe more people would be able to get housing and services that they need, or connect with their family.
That's interesting. I'm going to call you about that, if
Okay.
that's okay. Diane perceptively asks, this is a great question, what are your favorite stories about things that have happened at your events involving kids, or any kind of, surprise and wonderful thing that has come about?
Oh, thank you so much, because I feel like I spend 20% of my time on homelessness, which I never thought I would do,
Yeah.
working in the environment in this beautiful creek. One of my favorite things was we were hosting a bio blitz at Alvin and Quicksilver Park, and this couple was hiking, and they decided that they would join a bio blitz. And afterwards, they came up to me and they said, we've been hiking for years at this park, but we've never really seen what's in this park. Thank you so much for bringing us, having the bio blitz so that we could see this and how everything is connected. And that was just so heartwarming for me to be able to hear that from someone, that what a project that we brought to the park benefited them really directly. And now they look at the park differently. Another really great experience is we have man, Woody. And during the beginning of the pandemic, we were doing trail cleanups because we didn't want to go down towards the creek. And he was walking along the trail, and I stopped him, and as I was just trying to, say hi to people. And he came out later that afternoon, later that day, and participated for a half hour in the litter cleanup. And then he just kept showing up. And now 3 years later, he's one of our regulars.
Oh, good.
And it's because he cares about his neighborhood and he wants to help keep it clean. And so he really is grateful. He's always, thank you, Deb, for hosting this event. I'm really having a good time. And people really enjoy meeting new people at our cleanups as well. And then I think the last one was just recently in April, and we were with the county for the Habitat Day. So we had 9 different organizations that participated at the Coyote Creek Visitor Center for the Coyote Creek Habitat Day. And I went with the Silicon Valley Bicycle Coalition to lead a short family bike ride as 5 miles out to Osier Ponds. And on the way back, I had a very chatty 5-year-old who was biking behind me. And I just kept going at a nice, comfortable pace, and she chatted the whole time about how she enjoyed seeing the turkey, or she thought the poison oak was so beautiful, or it was, on and on. And so for me, it was great to see that she connected with nature and was able to retain it and be excited about it. And those are the kinds of things that I just really love hearing about.
That's wonderful. Do you ever try, or does anyone who's out there ever try to recruit folks who are living along the creek to help with the garbage pickup?
Yeah, there are a number of organizations actually that do that. So one that, and the two that I know of and have worked with, they have contracts with the city of San Jose. So the first one is Downtown Streets Team, which had operated for a number of years in the city. And there were people who lived in the creeks or lived on the streets or, were couch surfing, and they participated in their programs. And what we did was, I went to their program meetings, which was so inspirational. And I know that they started them up again, and I invite everybody to go to one of these meetings because it's really incredible how people are showing up because they want to change their current situation. And in order to do that, they finally decided that they were going to participate with an organization like Downtown Streets Team to do that. And we would have a group come on a Saturday to work side by side with our volunteers and tell their stories and share the path that they've been on to get out of homelessness and what Downtown Streets Team has done for them. And then the second group that we most recently worked with was the Salvation Army. And they have a program that is part of the bridge, San Jose Bridge, which the city supports, and it's paying homeless people $25 an hour to pick up trash, mostly at the gateways into the city off of Highway 87, but also in some of the neighborhoods. So that's another organization. And then I didn't know this until I was talking with Dorsey Moore from the San Jose Conservation Corps, but he told me that there were a number of the youth in their program that live in the creek, and that it was really challenging for them when they would go as part of their job to go do creek cleanup, and they'd be cleaning up in their own space that they lived in. And that's really disheartening, first of all, to hear that there are youth that are living unsheltered, but then also for them to have to pretend that this is not their space and just be doing their job, which is to clean up an area.
Okay, that's really interesting. Actually, they say if you go past encampments early in the morning, you see all these little kids coming out to catch the school bus. It just must break your heart.
Actually, I want to correct something. It's not Salvation Army, it's a Goodwill Silicon Valley. That's
okay.
it. Who's with the San Jose Bridge program. Yeah.
Okay. Are there any politicians, any elected officials or planning commissioners or anyone that you feel are I'm sorry, my husband just turned on a printer here and it's going to distract for a moment, that you feel are particularly supportive, that you look to for help when you need something policy wise done by the city or whoever? And I guess I'm suggesting you name names if there are people who are particularly helpful and wonderful. I'm not asking you to blame anybody. Okay.
Okay. So far, I have found that the council members that I've been in touch with, they are very supportive of the work that we're doing. And when grants through the city come up before council to be approved, that we've been able to get them approved with their support, either as a BD or directly within the budget. Like, for example, in the Beautify SJ budget, we've been included the last couple of years within that budget request. In terms of the regional level, I think that Cindy Chavez has been, mostly because we work in her district, has been very supportive of trying to look at the homeless situation a little differently, even though she doesn't want to give up the fairgrounds, because apparently we are in an emergency for a housing emergency, but it doesn't warrant the use of the fairgrounds, which, trust me, if there was an earthquake, the fairgrounds would be the first place that everybody set up. I'm just being honest.
Yeah, no, it's true.
But she does try to talk with me about how to be creative about getting some of the things that we want to have happen, the needle moved a little bit. And with regards to Coyote Meadows, Ash Kalra has been very supportive, and he has toured the area, and I don't know if it's in his district anymore, but he he definitely had been very supportive of ideas of how to move the needle on the Office of Economic Development. So yeah, I feel like I've had really good luck at the local and regional level to get some support. I have never pursued at the federal level any elected officials. So I don't have any background there, but I do say that, for example, when he was a Councilmember Mahan, when he was elected, he heard me in December before he was officially sworn in January, speak on at a city council meeting, and he reached out to me right away that evening on LinkedIn and said, hey, I care about creeks and this nexus with homeless. Can we talk? So, he was very proactive in that respect. And then a lot of the work I do in Councilmember Torres and Councilmember Dewan's office districts, they've been also very supportive of, if I have some areas of concern, they will then try to direct some resources that direction, whether it's police or parks department personnel. So it's been really congenial, I would say.
Great. That's great. I'm so glad. And I hope it helps with the Office of Economic Development.
I think if we just keep chipping away, it will.
Diane, jumping in again, is the tech community supportive or involved in any way with your work?
That's a really good question, because they are and they aren't. Just like with housing, homelessness, just like with a lot of other issues. So the tech companies, they have a lot of community funding, but they're focusing a lot of it on social issues, but very narrowly on social issues. So environmental issues are not typically very high on their list as a funding source. So when I've gone to look for grant opportunities with these foundations, there's been very few. But there are a lot of tech people who work in tech, who come out to our events, and then they've asked to have, an event, a cleanup event just for them, in which we can do, asking for a donation of $2,500 so that we can organize it for them. And then also a number of them have a match program within their community giving. And so then they say, I work 3 hours and then we get $25 an hour for their hours. And I would like more of them to take advantage of that. And we try to remind people that they have this free resource available, but it hasn't come to as much fruition as I would like. But yeah, they've been quite supportive in some ways and not so much in others.
Yeah, I guess it's hard because so many of them are international corporations and actually try to divide their charitable giving more broadly. It's not like the old Arm and Hammer and the Midwest would take care of its city, and it's a shame because there's so much money here.
Another thing too, Barbara, is that a lot of the grants that are being offered right now are small, and to us, $5,000 is very small, and it's a lot of work to apply for, manage, and then report on a small grant. Whereas getting $100,000 grant from the city requires about the same amount of effort. So when these corporations are saying, oh, we're good citizens, we're offering up $5,000 grants, my board has told me now not to go after them because they're too much strain on my limited time. And we only have myself as a full-time employee, and we have 3 part-time employees. And as you saw, I'm still looking to hire 2 more people. So we're running really thin, and it means I'm running really thin. So I have to pick and choose where I spend my time.
It makes sense. I used to be on the board of a nonprofit that had this terrible time. Everyone wants to give grants for new social programs, for new ideas. And at that time, United Way was about the only organization that would give you grants for operating, for doing what you do, which if you stop doing it would be a disaster. Is there an equivalent to that still going on, or do grantors want to just help with what you're doing?
I would say for operating grants, it's very hard to find them and it's very hard to get them. So the Silicon Valley Community Foundation, for example, is one reliable source for nonprofits to go to, but they've really narrowed their focus to organizations that fit the diversity criteria that they're looking for, whether it's, you know, a Black organization or that serves the Black community, or that you serve a very poor community. And what we do is we kind of serve everybody, whether it's, you know, kids or adults, people who are able-bodied or less able-bodied. I mean, we don't really fit within that little box. And so we don't have as many opportunities to seek out that type of operating funding. And that's where my board really would like us to shift from grants to more discretionary funding, and just
Right.
having, you know, if somebody could just give $50 a month to our organization with no strings attached, then that's a way that we could leverage that and be able to do more have more flexibility in how to use that funding.
Great. I'm not sure how, I guess we've got a few more minutes here. Does anyone, I think we're caught up on the chat. Oh, there's Diane. Diane, did you have anything else you'd like to ask? You've contributed some of the best questions here.
No more questions. I just was looking at the clock here and realizing we're getting close to the 1 o'clock magic number. So that'll
Right.
pop up here.
Deb, is there anything else that you would like to tell us that we haven't asked about that you think we should know about?
Well, I think just reiterate that Coyote Creek is an amazing resource that we have right here in San Jose. You can go up to the Henry Coe Park, and see the headwaters. It's only an hour drive from downtown San Jose. And, you know, in 30 minutes, you can be out at the bay enjoying the bird watching. And we've got these amazing hills, especially that the Open Space Authority and county parks have. So really take advantage of this. There's tons of trails. It's an amazing resource, little known. A lot of people don't even know the name of the creek, let alone where it is, and come out and explore it with us.
Well, that's wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I will be in touch with you about a couple of things, hoping that a committee I work on can give you a hand.
Wonderful.
Thank you, Barbara.
You're welcome.
And I think Deb Kramer is an amazing resource.
I do too. Absolutely.
We're very lucky to have someone with your experience and passion, and obviously good business management skills to get all this stuff done with such a skeleton crew. So yay for you. So thank you so much for being here. There will be no lunch with League in June, but instead we are having our annual meeting on Thursday, June 8th from 3:30 to 5:30. And we have a keynote speaker, California State Assembly member Gail Pellerin. So she's going to start our meeting at 3:30, and then we'll start the business portion around 4:15. Everyone is welcome, members and non-members, and you can sign up for that on our website, lwvsjsc.org. So thank you all again for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you at the annual meeting or at future lunches with League later in the summer. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.